Hi, and welcome to exercise 4 of our series of CAD tutorials. Now, with this one, actually, though, if you look at the shape, it's a little chain link. You'd think you'd be drawing in something other than circles, but we're not. We do have to use a couple of techniques on the circles. But before we start, I'm just going to do what I normally do, just go round. I've got my F7 key on, I can see my grid. I don't have my snap on, so I'm just going to make sure that's on. The dynamic input and the dynamic UCS are grayed out. That's great. And I have my toolbars, my 3D tools and visualize that we had to put up. So we should be ready to go. All we really have to do is do Z space A and then enter, and we're good. So we've got our virtual sheet up. So as I said, this is all circles. So let's grab one off the top bar and come somewhere on screen and left click. We're going to do a D enter to enter. It's a 2-inch circle. And then we want another one 4 inches away to the right. So we can use that polar tracking, that one that gives the green line that shoots across the screen. We could use that polar tracking to move it like we were finishing off that shape in the last lesson. So I'm just going to copy, then come down, left click, right click from the center point. So I've got the center up there, left click, and move that green trace line to the right. Then just enter 4, enter, and you see that thing snap back to the 4-inch position. We don't need another one yet, so I'm just going to right click and enter to end the copy command. They are completely separate. And now we're getting on to the one that's slightly different. We're going to grab the circle command, but this time come down to the bottom bar, and you can see we have a 3P, 2P, and TTR option available. As you know, there are a couple of others, and you could look at that if you hit the downward caret on the circle, but we're going to do TTR and then enter. Now, it asks us to do the first object for a tangent of a circle. And you've really got to pick the face of the circle, the side you want. So if you want this thing to dip in a little bit, it's going to be this internal right face about there. Okay. Now it's also very hard to get near there when you've got the snap command on, because you can see it jumps around in half-inch increments. So temporarily I'm going to come down and turn that snap off. So now when I get close to it, it's easy to see. I can get right down on that edge. Now, I'm still of the mind that I follow the way and the conventions that AutoCAD put curves and circles and everything else on. If you do it in a positive direction, remember, they go in a counterclockwise direction. So I always tend to think about the circle being stuck on top, hitting this face first, hitting that face second, and then we can enter a 6-inch radius. So enter 6, enter. And you'll see the curve comes into that face first, that face second, and it goes that side. This is the problem that I have. If you put tan on here, it could equally pick it on the other side. Okay? You put tan on here, again, it could equally select that it would be a tangent on the other side. Okay? And if you don't do the conventions that the machine likes, one of these days what you're going to get is that circle will go on there with a 6-inch center, but it will be sitting that way over the top. So I like to encourage it to go in a positive direction and do my counter clockwise. Now, I've seen it go wrong. You might do it a dozen times, 2 dozen times, and it will be right every time, regardless of which order you pick. But there's just that once that will go on the wrong way. And on the assignment, you're asked to do one in and one out. So when you do the out one, make sure that you're doing it like from there to there. Okay, so that is your counterclockwise move again. On this next step, we could either mirror this circle across using the 2 center points, or we can just draw a second center point. So I'll do it again just for repetition and show you how to put the 6-inch circle on. Circle, we want TTR, enter, like the inside of that, because that's our counterclockwise. All right, so the inside of that to the inside of that, and 6, and enter. And that is the shape that we're looking for, because now we have to hit trim and trim out everything other than that dog bone shape. Okay, so up to trim, left click. I'm just going to hold my left mouse key down and just lasso everything. Right click. Then we can left click the pieces we don't want on the outsides, that's the top and the bottom, and the two that are sitting on the inside to leave us with the profile. Now we have to escape out of that, because this is one of those commands where we're kind of stuck in it, and it will be spec'd in any one of these little inputs down here where we actually just want to go grab another circle, but it's asking us, have we finished trimming? Have you finished trimming? You know, it's like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Coming from the back seat. So we need to clear that. So we hit escape. Go up to circle, left click circle, come down anywhere near the outside of this profile, and you'll see our center point comes up. So we go to our center point, get the center marker, left click, and then we can go D, enter, 1, enter. Same again, circle, anywhere near there, get our center point, D, enter, 1, enter. And the only thing we've got left to do now is to edit, that's polyline edit, these 4 lines together. I could have done that before I'd done the circles. It doesn't really matter which way around you do it, but I want to show you an alternate way rather than just typing it in. Polyline edit, P-edit, is what you use to actually join the lines and things up. But if you go to modify, the modify menu, and left click there, the center one of these options on this top bar is polyline edit, okay? So you could just go up there and grab the icon. If you're very much a GUI person, you like the icons. So I'm going to left click one of these lines. It states, do you want to turn it into one? So it's edit, it's a polyline. It's obviously not seeing that as a polyline, it's seeing it as an arc. So I just hit enter, because yes is the default option there. And then I can either hit that or just say J, enter. Okay, so I'm going to join it, and then I'm going to pick all 4 parts of the outside profile and right click. Okay, now again, just like the other command, this is still there. We don't want it there. We hit the escape key, clears it, ready for the next command. But if we go near the outside of that profile now, you'll see it's now all completely joined. So I'm just going to turn this thing over. So I'm going to grab my orbit and turn this thing over, and then I'm going to grab my pan, pull that down a little bit. You'll see why in a minute. And I'm going to go to the 3D tools, grab my extrude, select everything, right click, enter, and then enter a 0.25 extrusion. So there's the first one done. The 3 models are sitting there. I'm going to extract, or subtract, should I say, these 2 masses. I'm going to extract these 2 masses by subtraction from this external shape. So up to subtract, always select the outside that you want to keep first, then right click, and then left click and left click the 2 holes, and then right click, and we're done. We'll visualize that, so we go to visualize, over to where it says 2D wireframe, pick realistic, and you can see, I'm just sticking on the orbit just for a sec, you can see that I've got my object with the 2 holes in, all nice and shiny holes. Okay, so just going to right click and escape out of that, and oh look, where's the copy gone? We are on a different menu. We're on visualize right now, so we need to go back to the home menu, and then we need to copy. And what I want to copy, and I haven't turned my snap or anything back on yet, is that one there. Alright, so grab the whole model, right click, pick a base point. It doesn't matter where you pick it from. You don't even have to pick a point on here. We can just left click there and move it once, twice, 3 times. So we've got 4 plates, and that will make our chain link up. The only other thing we need is yet another circle to extrude into pins. So I'm going to put 3 pins up there. Most people would look at the actual finished drawing and see 3 pins, so they draw 3 pins. You only actually need 2, and I'll show you why. First, grab a circle, come down anywhere, just put the center point on, and put D, enter 1, enter. That's our diameter. And then we're going back to the 3D tools, to the extrude, grabbing hold of that, pulling it up 3 inches, and enter. Now go back to home, then to copy, grab that part, and then just pick a point, another, and another, and we've now got our 3 pins. So when we go to place these pins into these holes, when we do a move, because we've already drawn the pins, we don't need to copy them, you can click any pin so that it goes blue, so just go click, and then right click, and you'll find that when we get to the bottom, you see that the one big feature we've got down there is the center point. So I'm going to left click that center point, that's where I'm picking it up by, and go down. Let me just zoom into this area there, go down to this end of the hole, and if I get near this, you can see the 2 center points, the top part of the plate and the bottom part of the plate, off of the actual plates that we just extruded. Well, you can see those 2 little dots there. Those are the center points, one there and one there. Well, we want the bottom of that pin to go right the way through and be flush with that bottom surface. So we want the bottom one of those 2, and we left click. Okay, and just to prove that it's all the way through, you can do an orbit. You can see now that that bottom line of the bottom surface of the pin is dead flush with the bottom of the plate. Okay, now just to move that over a fraction, in fact I'll need to zoom out just a little tiny bit. I can see the bottom of this one now, so I'm going to move that pin, right click by the center point, back over. You see the 2 center points, top and bottom. We click the bottom one, and that one's done. Now we need to pick this plate up by the top of those center points and attach it to the top of this circle here. So I'm now going to move, left click, there's our 2 points, move it by the top one to the center on the top one, and now you can see that our plate is there and I've got flush surfaces. So zoom out a little bit and then pan it down. I'll zoom in just a fraction. Okay. Now, the top section, the top level, or top of this plate, this plane here, needs to go underneath this one. Okay. So I'm going to move, left click this plate, and it will be the upper side, the top side of this, that mates with the underside of this one. So I'm going to grab it by its top center point and look at these 2 center points here and place it to the bottom of those 2 center points. And now you can see that this one fits snugly underneath that one there. Well, it's the opposite to this one, because this one has to be picked up by what will be its mating surface, its underside, so the bottom hole, and go to the top hole on this plate. All right, the top of the hole. So I'm going to move, left click the bottom of these 2 points, come down to this one, and it will be the top of that one of those 2. Okay. Now to the conundrum. We need 3 pins. Now, if I just zoom it out from that a little bit, maybe it's a little bit too far, move that over, just zoom in once more. Okay. Now, there's the pin. It's the extra pin I need, the 3rd one. But because the top of the pin needs to be in line with these ones, it will be sticking out by one of these plate thicknesses above the top of that. Now, how how would I get that pin? How could I pick it up so that I'm picking it up from like a quarter of an inch down, which is the thickness of that plate, so that I end up with a little quarter-inch stubby sticking out this end and a little quarter-inch stubby sticking out that end? Hard, huh? The quickest way is not to use a third pin. The quickest way is to use the existing pin and pick it up by one of these 3 points that you'll get up there. I could draw a little sacrificial line from here, going downwards a quarter of an inch, and then pick up or move the pin so grab the pin and grab the bottom of the line so that it is actually grabbed a quarter of an inch down. Don't copy the line, just the pin, but you can use that line that you can put downwards in the Z to actually pick it up by, but that's a little bit convoluted. So I'll show you the other way. Let me just zoom in. You can copy this pin, okay? So I'm going to right click and come up to this top edge. Now you'll see that I've got the top of this plate, the bottom of this plate. The bottom of this plate is also the top of the other plate, and then you've got the last and lower section bottom part. But I want to pick it up by that point there, which is a quarter of an inch or 1 plate thickness down. So if I do that, all I really want is to pick it up by that point there, and now you can see I'm picking it up from somewhere other than it's like a quarter of an inch down from that point. And then I just need to go through here and attach it to the top center point. Then I can right click and enter, grab hold of that last pin that we don't need, and just look at it. There we go. We've got the pins all nice and even, a little stub out of both top and bottom parts, and let's look at that. That's pretty cool. One thing that I have been asked in the past is how I managed to get them different colors. Well, the easiest way to get them different colors is to actually draw them in a different color, or you could color the surfaces of the 3D models that you've produced. To give you an idea on that, I'll just pop back to that menu. If I go down and pick one of these colors, anything I draw in that color would be that color. For example, there's a red one. Okay. Now, if I do an extrusion, because I've got my visualize on, alright, so if I now do an extrusion with my 3D tools and extrude that shape, oh dear, done it right. There we go, extrude that shape, it will come up a set color. Now, if you've already done it and you want to change the color of it, you'd have to go in a slightly different way. If you go to your 3D tools and then come into on one of these edges here, if I pick that model, it picks the whole model. Not really much of a problem. I've selected the whole thing. Now if I go into solid editing, this last option here is color faces. Okay, I can click that and then pick whatever faces I want on the model. Okay, so I've got those faces there on that model. I haven't done the underside or the backside yet, but basically if I right click at any point and enter, I get a color wheel up. Now I'm going to make them blue, and okay. So you can play around with colors and things. I hope you've enjoyed this exercise, and it was slightly different. We're doing a lot of positioning. You're going to need to do that on the end test and the mock, just to get you ready for it. This was a fairly decent exercise. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you later in exercise 5.